Hello and welcome to our Open Telecom Cloud Community webinar. Today we have two guests with us. One is Tino Feenle and the other one is Sebastian Hemmer. Both of them from the Security Services Squad. One is a product manager, Tino, and one is the product owner, Sebastian. And today you will get a great overview about a pretty fresh released service, our host security service. You will get great introduction about how to secure your infrastructure by protecting VMs and also container environments. With this, then, I will at first hand over to Sebastian. Thank you a lot for having you here, and let's have a great webinar.
Thanks, Stefan, for having me, and welcome everyone also from my side. I'm Sebastian, short introduction. I'm with Open Telecom Cloud since end of 2016, taking care about the backend security of the OTC and also acting as a stand-in for our information security officer in case he's absent. And well, as Stefan already mentioned, I'm product owner of security services, taking care of delivering the security services to you to enable you to secure your environment in the OTC. With that, handing over to Tino for some short introduction.
Yes, thank you. And also good morning from my side. My name is Tino Feenle. I'm the product manager for security services at Open Telecom Cloud. So I joined about 3 years ago, and I oversee the portfolio of security services like anti-DDoS, ERM, key management, and so on. And yeah, today I want to introduce you to the new service, the host security service. And then I would say, let's start. What do we want to talk about today? First of all, from the agenda point of view, I want to talk a bit about the problems we have in the cloud host security environment and the solutions which are available. Next, I will introduce you to the host security service itself. So I will introduce you to the ransomware protection and vulnerability management features. These are the key features of the HSS. Afterwards, the most anticipated part will be the live demo, where Sebastian will show you the system and the console live. And as said, we have a few minutes then left for Q&A at the end. So let's start to dig into the topic. First of all, let's talk about the problems we have in the environments. One important topic, as always, is the number of attacks. So they are increasing day after day, every year. But importantly, what is involved or what are the causes of breaches? So breaches are successful attacks. As you can see, about 2/3 of breaches involve a human element. That means somebody unintentionally forgot something, did a misconfiguration, or doesn't even know what to do. And this is a huge factor for successful breaches. The next thing is ransomware. So over 1/3 is involved with ransomware. So if you combine ransomware and humans, that is a big door opener for attackers. These attacks are basically spread everywhere. So they are top threats in basically almost all industries, and they are rising time over time. You can see on this graph ransomware and extortion. Extortion is a kind of ransomware when the attacker is also, for example, encrypting your data and asking then for a few bitcoins to decrypt the data that you can get your data back, or otherwise he will just delete it. For these problems, the solutions are some defending mechanisms. First of all, for example, some baseline checks to detect unsafe baseline settings. So like I said in the beginning, if you set up a machine, maybe you forgot something to close some ports, to edit your group policy objects to have a safe environment. That's where baseline checks for to just have a standard compliance or security baseline to your machines to reduce threats. The next thing is the intrusion detection. So you want to have some kind of attack detection mechanism to detect advanced threats by for example, abnormal behaviors. And last but not least, the ransomware prevention. You want to detect if ransomware is running on your system. You want to isolate it, and of course, you want to have regularly a backup, which you can then recover to continue with your business to achieve the business continuity you want to have. let's come to the second point. The second problem is also the rising number of vulnerabilities. As you can see from this Statista graph, we have a rising graph of vulnerabilities. For example, in 2022, there have been 25 known vulnerabilities, and the year after there are 29,000. So that means we had a 16% increase just in 1 year, and most likely they are rising. Vulnerabilities can be exploited, and that's what we want to avoid. So what solutions do we have? First of all, vulnerability management. So we want to have a mechanism that scans our systems, our assets against the vulnerabilities, and most likely also provide some guidelines, some fixes, or can fix them automatically. Again, we also want to detect intrusions if vulnerabilities have been exploited, because we want to avoid further threats, and this is also a part of this baseline settings, baseline checks, to detect unsafe systems, because we want to isolate the attacker if he even achieves to come into our environment. And the third point is also the increasing complexity. As you get more and more assets into the cloud, you have a rising number of assets, but also the transparency decreases. That means you have a lot of systems running around, some virtual machines, some containers, some Windows, some Linux. Some have different applications running on them, and over time you lose the overview. Where do I have what, and what is the security status or the posture of my whole environment? You want to see, for example, some dashboard, some scoring, some traffic lights. Am I green? Am I red? What do I need to do? That's where the solution comes in, to have some kind of security protection platform. Usually you want to have some kind of dashboard. So you log in, you get at a first glance a score. What do I need to do? Secondly, asset fingerprints. That means you want to have some kind of inventory. What servers are running in my environment, which are protected, which are not. What do they have for software installed? Maybe open ports, users, whatever. And last but not least, alarming. So when something happens, you want to be informed. Also reporting, that means time over time, maybe on a regular time, like once a month, once a week. You want to get some status. Has my environment increased from security point of view? Basically, all points I mentioned now, all problems with the solutions I provided theoretically are now included in a new service we introduce. And this is the host security service. So the host security service is used to protect, of course, your servers and your containers, and also to prevent breaches and stopping threats like ransomware. So as you can see on the left, that's kind of the architecture. So you have the security management center, or the dashboard, which is on the OTC console. Then you have the HSS agent. That is a piece of software you need to install in your servers or containers, which is then communicating with the dashboard to provide the data and aggregate the data which you need. How does it look like? So HSS is a unified security protection platform where you can see at a first glance your risk index, like what risk have been found in which assets. You can directly jump to them to handle them. You also get an overview of the risks over time. So that is on the left on the bottom, like what are the statistics for my vulnerabilities, for my assets, from baselines. Are the security threats rising or declining? Then you can see on the top right, what servers do I have? Are they protected? Are some unprotected? And you can see also directly the most important alarms from an intrusion point of view, the top events, and you can then dig deeper. But we will see much more of that in the live demo later. So this is just the first glance. Now I want to explain to you the top features of the service. Most importantly is the ransomware prevention. And I want to give you an overview about how does it work. So let's imagine we have some ransomware attack going on, and we want to understand how it works. So I just choose an example of some attacker is cracking weak passwords and is coming into your environment. I divide it into 3 parts. That is the pre-event, so before the the ransomware is placed, then the in event, where the ransomware is actually happening, and the post event. Then we have on the left the attacker, and then we have our HSS service providing defense mechanisms. So how does it work? Usually the first point is system cracking. So somebody wants to gain access to your machine. For example, he sees open ports, or he can scan your environment. And there we have, first of all, 3 defense points of view, point of views. The first one is the baseline checks. So we look for safe configurations and inform if they are unsafe ones. Secondly, we have vulnerability management to scan the systems and close them as soon as possible. And third one are the asset fingerprints. I will go into details what is inside these points, but these are the main defense points. Next one, the attacker is somehow accessing any credentials and is coming into your system. So he is has some kind of intrusions into your system. So there we have the intrusion detection. The intrusion detection is working by identifying abnormal behaviors. This could be a brute force attacks, some port scans, like so reconnaissance port scans, but also behavior from the system point of view, like files are changing or directories are accessed and so on. The next thing is the invalid process start. That means the attacker has gained access to your systems. He now is in and wants to deploy some invalid processes to start something. There we have also the abnormal behavior detection. So this includes not only the system behavior, like registry settings and so on, but also the user behavior. So what's going on there? What is the user doing? And additionally, we have a process whitelist. So you can also set, for example, for your highly protectable machines, what processes are allowed to start, to run, and other processes will be denied to start. The next thing is, the attacker wants to run the malicious code. So he has deployed his malware and wants to run it. There we have the intrusion detection again with the feature of the malware detection. So HSS is detecting your malware and then isolating it. Next thing, when it's would be run successfully, the ransomware would start, for example, to encrypt your data. For that one, we have the ransomware prevention as a feature from HSS. The ransomware prevention is placing bait files to see if files are changed and to detect the ransomware when the malware detection fails. Also, it is included or integrated in CBR. So that is our cloud backup and recovery service to regularly back up your data and in case of an accident to be able to retrieve the data. Post-event would be the attacker contacts you and said, I gained access to your system. I decrypted your data. Please give me some money, for example, to be able to retrieve your data. Where we would say, not with me, with HSS, because we have for all steps mechanisms to detect, and even if the attack would be successfully, so the ransomware would run, we would be able to recover our data. Now let's come a bit into more details. What are these mechanisms and how do they work? Like I said, we had, for example, the baseline checks as a first point of view. So they do some checks for unsafe configurations, for password complexity on your systems, and also scans for common weak passwords. As the next point, we have the vulnerability management. So these scans your machines for vulnerabilities and provides you an overview with the CVE ID, for example, also the risk level to see what are the most important ones. And a cool feature is that it's automatically fixing your issues with one click. That's a really cool point, which we show later. Next thing is the asset fingerprints. So HSS is scanning your machines to identify also insecure settings. For example, for open ports, you can see an overview which ports are open on which machines in my environment, for example. That's a really nice feature. Then we have for vulnerability management, one important topic. So vulnerabilities are detected almost every day. Important is also the fixing type. Based on these statistics, you see at around 55 days, so 2 months, almost 2 months, only 50% of the identified or the published vulnerabilities have been fixed. So that is a huge amount. So what we want to achieve is to reduce the fixing time So first of all, we need to even identify that our systems are affected. Therefore, for example, on HSS, you can scan the machines every day, and then we want to fix them quickly. That's why HSS is providing for some vulnerabilities the option to just click on the fix button, and then you don't need to log into your machine. The vulnerability is fixed by the agent automatically, which we will see live in some minutes. Then we have the in-event features, which are the intrusion detection. So this is detecting malware, exploits, abnormal system behavior. What I talked about is like registry changes or file or directory changes, abnormal user behavior like brute force attacks or invalid users and so on, and abnormal network access like suspicious downloads, and reconnaissance like port scans, for example. Then we have the ransomware prevention. Like I said, it's placing bait files to identify the attack and isolate it, and it's also integrated to CBR to back up and restore your data. To get to know how ransomware prevention works, I brought with me some examples, some metaphor. So you have on the left and on the right side the evil ransomware. So the mouse wants to destroy your data, your files, but HSS is placing bait files, so the cheese. And when the cheese is touched by the mouse, it's identified by HSS, and therefore it knows something strange is going on. It's sending out alarms, and then you can restore also your data. That's how it's working theoretically. But then I would say we will now stop the PowerPoint talking, and we will go into the system. So we will now talk about the baseline checks, the asset fingerprints, intrusion detection, ransomware prevention, and vulnerabilities. I'm logged in now into the OTC console. You will find HSS under security. So let's dive into HSS. When you open HSS, you will see the dashboard. So the dashboard is showing you the risk index, like the security risk found and how many assets. You can directly click on Handle Now. Then you get an overview about the intrusion risks, the vulnerabilities, and the unsafe settings. For each category, you see the categorizing in the kind of importancy, so low, medium, high, and so on. You could click on Handle Now, and then you would jump in directly into the alarms. The same is for vulnerabilities and unsafe settings. I will not click here because I want to show you the dashboard. Then you can see how many servers I have in my OTC environment. For example, I have 11 servers here, but only 9 are protected. So there are some unprotected machines. The same goes for containers. If you scroll down, you see the risk statistics over up until 30 days. And here you can see, for example, the baseline risks are rising over time. Usually this happens if you add new software or if you just install the agent on new machines and activate it. Then you can see the intrusions. So what are the top alarms? For example, if you bind an EIP to a machine, usually port scans are happening. So somebody from the internet is scanning your machine. So you can see port scans are happening a lot. And then you can directly see the used alarms here. The same goes then for containers, but this is currently empty. The next point is the asset management. For asset management, you can see, for example, first of all, an overview from what types do I have, how many servers, how many containers. Then you can see the agent status, online, not installed, and offline. For example, if you shut down the machine. Then for the servers, you can see how many are protected and safe, protected and unsafe, and unprotected. The same is for containers. And you can see a distribution about the operating systems installed on your machines. And then you have the asset count. It's like how many accounts do I have? What are the open ports on the machines? Like I can see SSH is open on 8 servers. That is not so nice. These are things I can directly see on this page. The same is then for processed, installed software, what has been installed. And what is the operation system history? So when has what been installed? Same as for auto startup. What web services are running, like an Nginx server? What databases are running on the systems, like MySQL, and so on, that you can directly see in the systems doing the fingerprints. Then I would say for the next point, Sebastian.
All right, you covered the fingerprints, you covered the service and quota, right? Then I can directly jump into the vulnerabilities, I think. I prepared something, right? Because we wanted to show you something. So I set up basically a virtual machine with an outdated operating system, so that I can also show you some vulnerabilities here. Because if you create a brand new VM with the latest image from that we are providing, you are getting the latest packages from the vendor. So I created some old, and this gets HSS is providing you some overview about vulnerabilities you have. You can also go into the server view here, where you see, okay, which servers do have vulnerable software. So I have this vulnerable OS machine I have, and some old test machine. But I will go into the vulnerability view again, because here you can, and I will show you, for example, I can say, I have this OpenSSL vulnerability. I see is, okay, there are some, there is this vulnerability is affecting the OpenSSL package I have. I can also get some reference here from the National Vulnerability Database, from the NIST, and can see, okay, how bad is it? Is it really affecting me or not? And then I can either decide I can ignore this because I say, okay, it's not affecting me. I don't use this function that is affected. Or of course, the better version is, okay, I fix it, right? Updating. This will do an update of the package with the package manager that you have in your distribution there. It's asking me, okay, please be aware that this might cause failure of your system, because if there are some dependencies on this package in some other software you have on your system, and it might cause that it's not running anymore afterwards. So please back up your system, of course, before you do that. And then I can auto fix, and it's in the back doing the update. The agent is doing basically then for an OilOS or CentOS based system, it's doing a YAM update of the service. Can show you afterwards, because it will show then here in the vulnerabilities handled today. It's not done yet. We will see the number one. We can, of course, also say I do all, right? I can say, yeah, fix all. Will not do that now for some later presentation that I have some vulnerabilities left. It needs to be said that, for example, kernel security update, of course, I need to reboot the system afterwards. That's not done automatically. This is only hot patching here with the fix, and it's already doing the update, but you will need to reboot your system then afterwards if you, for example, do a kernel update or some other update that requires code patching. That being said, let me see whether it's already updated. I will come back here afterwards. The next thing we already showed you in the presentation is the baseline checks. Right? Having said that, I created a vulnerable machine, right? So it contains also bad passwords. It contains bad configurations. So we can see it here. Tino already showed that before. It's the same for me. I opened SSH for everyone in the internet, basically, right? So security group allow everything. And in addition, I made some bad mistake. I allowed the root login. I put it to yes. HSS is informing me, okay, this is a bad idea, right? It checks whether in the SSHD config I set permit root login to no, and in fact that I did put it to yes, it tells me, okay, this is a high risk item. You should restrict your SSH login for the root user, so that not someone can from outside simply directly log in as root user. Right. In this case, at least I've not enabled password authentication. I could also do that, but that I would have a lot of events here to show you probably, but no access to the system anymore afterwards. So I did not do that. But it's also telling me, okay, I have not set the maximum number of times the password can be reused, for example, which is always a good idea, right, if you're using password authentications. In addition, I mentioned before, but you didn't hear me, I set up Docker installation, right, and I did not secure it at all. It's just the plain basic Docker installation without having anything configured there. So of course it throws a lot of failed items here. Also for this. Also for the password complexity, I have some, I've simply not configured the standards, right? I just said, okay, password length is pre-configured, and I don't care about uppercase, lowercase, letters, or digits. I still get the warning, okay, you should, but it's still possible. So I can check this here. And I created a weak user with a password, and I can also see, okay, I am using this since 3 days. Probably a bad idea to do that. So having some baseline checks here as well. Same also is possible for containers. We'll skip that for now because we have only limited time today. Let me go back to the vulnerabilities for now to show you, okay, this vulnerability was handled now. I can see, okay, this vulnerability is now in status fixed. I don't need to reboot my system. It's a hot patch. I have fixed my OpenSSL vulnerability I had on the system. It's only fixed on this one system because it's only affected this one. If I have multiple systems being affected by a vulnerability, for example, this one. Okay, this is only affecting the other one. Okay, I thought this is also affecting both, but if I have multiple systems being affected by it, I can see it here. And if I click fix, I can either fix it for one, or I can say, okay, I will fix it for all servers. Same is if I decide to choose here all, fix, and I can also say, okay, fix all vulnerabilities affecting 2 assets. So it's fixing all these vulnerabilities. Of course, keep in mind, simply fixing this via this option might cause risk. Back up your systems or consider reinstalling it from scratch. But it gives you a very good overview about vulnerabilities you have and how critical they might be. All right, going to the prevention part. Tino already talked about the ransomware prevention, right? I prepared something. Oopsie, right? You might remember this old one. I think it's the most known ransomware out there ever, the WannaCry ransomware. I downloaded it. It's possible to get it. That in the meantime, it's quite old, right? And I attacked my Windows machine here. I did it a bit before because it takes some time until it really starts encrypting. But what we can see now is if I go to HSS again and into the ransomware prevention, I can see my Windows HSS. Okay, I got some events. And you can see here at 7 o'clock, 7 minutes after 10, I got some reports about some suspicious ransomware encryption behavior. I can check, okay, what went on here? Oh, there's something with WannaCry, ransomware.wannacry. Okay, some executable ran from, it encrypted some brnd log.txt. Okay, this file might not be that critical, but it showed me, okay, there's some ransomware ongoing, right? And it basically, the ransomware tried to also encrypted these bait files Tino showed before. And that's why I'm getting this alarm. It needs to be said, right? You see, it's encrypting a lot of files. It needs to be said that these bait files, it does not prevent completely that any system data is encrypted, right? Because you know it from these devices to catch some mouse. They're also still attacking some other things, right? But eventually they will try to encrypt the bait file, and then HSS is detecting this. And now the neat part comes in. You get an alarm here, and I can basically say, okay, my Windows HSS machine here, I have 11 backups created, and I know, okay, today at 10 o'clock roughly, I was attacked. And I can say, okay, I want to restore the last backup I had. And if I say, okay, that's not sufficient that I restore a backup from yesterday, then I can also here via this backup policy directly say I want to have not a weekly based backup, but I want to have every hour based maybe a backup, right? And do that every day. Whatever I want to have. This is basically using CBR, right? So your CBR policies, and it's connected to CBR so that you can restore your backups here via the user interface directly. So now it's creating the restoring the backup, and then I can later on log into the Windows machine again and see, okay, it's not encrypted anymore. I will also see that in the alarms. Right? We will also see, okay, here a lot of red flags going on. Let me put this also to last 30 days because then I can show some bit more things. I see, okay, there's some malware and obviously there's some ransomware, right? I can see, okay, here's some suspicious ransomware encryption behavior. If I go down back a bit, it's also possible for Linux distributions where I did the same before, but the WannaCry is a bit more known, so I chose to do that. I also see I have some Trojan here in some HSS presentation machine. Okay, lovely, right? Exposed to the internet, so someone decided to attack it. I also showed you before, I have some, no, I didn't show you before, but I also installed some WordPress, vulnerable WordPress installation, where I now have some web shell open. So this is all stuff that will be shown here in the event times. Can also see, okay, there's some user behavior. For example, I brute forced one of my machines before. I can see, okay, from which IP was the attack ongoing, and when did it happen, and I get the alarms. For these events I get here, for all these alarms, I can also define alarm configurations, right? I said I want to have an HSS. I use the SMN, or it's using SMN topics. I just simply made it via email. So it's sending me an email notification in case there is some alarm notification. You can also use that via SMS. You can use that via a function graph, for example, to get this alarming. As usual with the SMN set possibilities you have there for alarming. Just let me open up one of the alarms I just got to also show that to you. That you also can see this how this looks like, right? So I basically got here, this is my tenant, there's a ransomware alarm on your ECS, Windows HSS, and okay, that happened, this path was attacked. Here you can jump into the console to view some details, right? So that's neat. That's neat. So for the detection, and that you can act as soon as possible to restore your data. Of course, usually a ransomware attacker is telling you that you got attacked, right? They are telling you that they want to have their ransom, but getting this alarm directly so that you can restore the backup as soon as possible is always nice, especially as you have the time stamp as well when the attack happened, so that you know which backup you should restore, preventing you from restoring a backup where you already have the attack ongoing. All right, last thing to show maybe in the last minutes is that you can also have some file integrity monitoring, where you get, for example, here some configuration in my curl has been modified, which is not so nice. So I get also the information. You can also see in the policies, and let's just take this one, the file protection. You can see, okay, which files are protected and so on, for file integrity. And you can also always disable that if you don't want to have that. All right. With this, I will end my presentation for now and hand over to Tino again, who still has some information to share with you in addition.
Yes. So thank you for the presentation. I hope it gave, sort of, at least for me, a really insightful view of HSS, so what the capabilities are. As you have heard, we skipped some parts for container, due to time restricting. So the same possibilities, almost the same possibilities you have also then for the container environment. So we have seen the baseline checks, the asset fingerprints, the intrusion detection, ransomware prevention, and vulnerability management. Just a few small glance at the file integrity monitoring. Regarding the alarming, Sebastian already showed you can integrate with SMN, get real-time alarms, but also the daily ones. And most importantly, you can also get reports. Here's just one example where you can see, okay, what has changed over time. So, for example, the risky host, the intrusions, and the vulnerabilities compared to the last week, for example, or for the last month, depending on the interval you set for your reports. What I also want to mention is our situation in the market. If you have the requirements to have such service, you know now the host security service. Azure is having some similar service with Defender for Cloud. Google Cloud is not offering this possibility at all. And with AWS, you can compare like with GuardDuty and its inspector. It's overlapping a bit, so both of these services have some kind of possibilities. But if you are looking for a European solution, you want to have your data inside Europe. Basically, you look at other cloud providers like Stackit, OVH or OVH Cloud or Ionos. There you will not find anything like this at all. So host security service in Europe here is kind of a unique selling point also from our point of view, to provide the needed security for you, for your systems. That's just one thing to mention. Regarding the additions and features, how we structure HSS, we have first of all the Enterprise Edition. This includes the fingerprints, the vulnerability management, baseline checks, also the intrusion detection with some limited set, and also the malware detection. Next one, we have the Premium Edition. This includes the full intrusion detection features, but also the ransomware protection, which we just showed in the live demo, the file integrity monitoring, and also application protection, which we also skipped due to timing here. We also have a more advanced version, that is the VTP, the web page tamper protection. Basically, this is checking for web page files and directories and can lock them. So basically, nobody can change the content of your web server. And then we have also the container version, including the container intrusion detection, but also image security. So the HSS is also then scanning your images for vulnerabilities before you even start your container.
Tino, maybe a short addition. I think we have just 1 minute for the application protection to mention this at least. This is in case you have some Java Spring application, right? You can protect it with the application protection. Then you can detect vulnerabilities there and
exactly.
As for the normal VMs, you can use it there.
Yeah. So we deployed the HSS on the German region first, and it's built per agent per hour. So basically, if you shut down or delete your machine, you're not built anymore, and it's per hour. So the Enterprise Edition is the basic one, let's say, with 3 cents per hour, and the Premium Edition, including the full intrusion detection set, and also the ransomware protection, is about 6 cents per hour. Basically, these are the let's say most required versions you would like to use. So Enterprise for any basic machines which are not faced to the internet, maybe a test environment, and Premium Edition for machines exposed to the internet or having critical data, web tamper protection for web servers, and Container Edition for the containers. As I said, you pay per hour. So depending on your one-time you have different prices. I just put one example below. So if you have 2 servers with the smaller enterprise version, 5 with the advanced premium, and 2 containers with container edition, you would pay about 350 months for this complete environment if you would run it 24/7, just as reference. Basically, this would also conclude our presentation, our webinar for today. Thanks for your attention. And I would hand over to Stefan for case of questions. So we start the question round.
Thank you a lot, Tino. Thank you a lot also, Sebastian, for this great overview. I think also the live demo was pretty impressive to see what the host security service is able to really not just see, but also fix by just clicking 1 or 2 buttons there. So thank you a lot for the great presentation, including the live demo. As Tino already mentioned, now we come to the last point of our webinar, to the Q&A session. Here I see the first one from Dennis. How often will the vulnerability database be updated?
So we aim to update the vulnerability database once a month. So that is the regular interval for the regular update. But in case of any urgent, high important, critical vulnerabilities, we can also increase or decrease the time before we get the new ones. But regularly is once a month, and depending on high criticality, more often.
All right. Thank you for this answer. And also thank you for the question, Dennis. Yeah, the second one just popped in right now. The question is, what is about the HSS API? Are there plans to extend the functionality to export and import policies?
You mean policies for the baseline checks, I think, right? It's planned to improve there, right? To also customize that way more, and also to we want to aim for being able to import, for example, NIST baselines, right, and stuff like that, via API and also via UI. That's currently not there yet, but of course the service will evolve over time.
Yeah.
With updates.
Yeah, the idea is to make it more configurable, that you can also configure the policy, what you need, what you don't need, have some benchmark, like Sebastian said, NIST or CIS benchmark, but currently not, but that are our wishes for the future to extend the service. And basically, if you can do it via GUI, then it should also be done via API. So if you can do it, then both ways.
So pretty fresh and new service which we have here, and for sure our team on the product management side and also product owner side will for sure work daily to improve the service more and more with every release.
Yeah.
Most probably when you want to have a look what is planned for the service, I think you can also have a look at our homepage on the roadmap. Right, Tino? I think there is also something.
Not yet, but we will place it then on the roadmap for the next major upgrade for the service. Yeah.
Great.
It's always a good place to look for.
All right. One next question. Will the service trigger a host restart or daemon restart as well if the package requires it after an update?
No, not directly. So it will tell you, okay, host needs to be restarted, right? But you need to do the restart on your own. So it will not automatically restart or reboot your system as a host. For example, if you do a kernel update, right, or you need a kernel update, it will not do the reboot of your system on its own. It will show them, okay, fix, so update is triggered. You need to restart your system on your own manually, but it will be shown in the UI if this is the case.
So you can plan the restart directly to your needs, not to interrupt or any running business service, whatever. One more question is from Dennis again. Will additional OSs be supported in the vulnerability scan and management? For example, Rocky Linux.
Rocky Linux is already supported. Let me share my screen, and I can show you where you can find the information as well. So let me go one step back, right? So you have here the agent installation guide. You also get, you see which operating system versions are supported. So you see, okay, also Rocky Linux is in, Ima Linux is in, which I heard is really commonly used by our customers. So it's usually, so we are trying to update this list as well. So Alma Linux 9.0 means Alma Linux 9 and newer, right? So it's not restricted to 9.0, same for Rocky Linux. And we are, of course, aiming for supporting newer OS versions all the time, right? This needs to be tested. That's the main reason. Testing until we see, okay, it's really 100% supporting and detecting vulnerabilities and stuff like that. So, and as soon as this is completely tested, this list will be updated, right? And usually newer versions are supported because the agent is checking for the vulnerability information for the packages, right? So if the packages are known and the information are, for example, existing in the national vulnerability database, as shown before, and the vulnerability information are in the vulnerability database, then this is covered here, especially for the vulnerability management. Right? That being said, the list will be updated continuously to support newer OS versions when there are new updates available or new OS versions available. Besides the list here, you can try it out, of course, if some other distribution is supported. If there are some special wishes, okay, you have some distribution that is not supported and you want to have it supported, as usual, you can raise a request and then we are checking this and try to support it as well in future.
Thank you a lot, Sebastian, for this detailed answer. One more question from Tim. With the vulnerability scans on the system, which, let's call it ecosystems, are supported, for example, the DNF packages, Python, Node.js, etc., for reports and or for the fix feature?
So currently, we only support majorly the operating system packages, but not third party. What we do include are some web content management systems like WordPress or Joomla, but for applications, basically that is currently not included.
If it's a package that comes with the OS and with the OS packet manager, it can be fixed and it can be detected. If it's third party software that you installed from some GitHub project or something like that, then only in some cases, as Tino mentioned.
The service is also mainly called host security service, so the main focus of this is really your host system, so your OS system in this case also. Then we are at the end related to the time and also perfectly at the end related to our popping up questions. Thank you a lot one more time, Sebastian. Thank you a lot one more time, Tino, for having you here, for preparation of this webinar here, for doing the webinar and giving us a great live demo. And also thank you a lot everybody who has joined us today. So with this, thank you and see you all hopefully also in the next webinar. When you want to stay up to date there, just join our Open Telecom Cloud community. Thank you a lot and see you all. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.